Whoa! Wow! Geez, did you hear that? Guys, I hope everybody is doing wonderful out there. Welcome to the SkidMarks podcast recorded at 3 Laws Recon Studios in Phoenix, Arizona. Now fasten your seatbelts, or don't. It's all up to you. Matter of fact, we've seen people. Well, now we're going to talk to both Jeff and Mark are here. We're going to talk about people that didn't fasten their seatbelts. People that fasten their seatbelts too tight, ladies and gentlemen. It is not going to be good because you don't know what's going to happen. Bam! Oh, okie dokie smoky. I want to welcome you to the podcast. This is Sean Hoy, your host. I've got Sheila. Is it Sheila, right? How have you been?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's so good to see you. And you're going to be helping me out a little bit.
Yes, I will be your trusty sidekick.
Now, do me a favor. You work with Jeff, who owns the company. 3 Recon Law, or is it 3 Laws Recon?
3 Laws Recon.
Okay.
Yes, I work for Jeff.
All right. And we're going to discuss some things about him. So again, guys, welcome to the show. We've got Jeff McGrath. That's like a rock star name.
Yes, it is.
Love it. And then we've got your, I don't want to say sidekick because you guys are equivalent.
He's my partner.
Partner in crime, no pun intended,
Right, totally.
Mark Welsh. Jeff, give us a little background of like what you do.
Well, I'm a retired cop, primarily a vehicular crimes detective, and now I do private accident reconstruction, where I reconstruct serious and fatal accidents.
Okay, so you reconstruct them. People hire you to do this.
That's correct.
And
yes.
what we're going to be discussing through all the episodes of SkidMarks is incidences. You guys call them incidences that have happened that are true. That are, most of these things are unbelievable.
Yes, absolutely.
The one that we're going to talk about today is unbelievable. And what about you, Mark?
I'm a former state trooper, investigated a couple thousand wrecks along with Jeff, and we met, and then we decided to start this company and investigate all kinds of crimes, crashes, all kinds of incidents.
Everything.
So everything. So you guys have worked together.
Yeah, for about the last 6 years.
About the last 6
Longer
years.
now,
Oh, about 10 years.
Yeah.
So you guys have it, yeah. And I got off recording, we did talk about some things that were just crazy, and I cannot wait to get some of the episodes. But today, I want to get to today's episode, and you're calling this, and this is kind of wacky, the dentist dilemma.
Yes.
To me,
yes.
that's kind of like, what's going on? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I can't wait to talk to these guys. It's going to be wonderful. All right, so let's talk about. Give us the premise of the dentist dilemma. This hooked me right away. Just what we're going to do is we're going to set it up. Tell us what happened. We're going to talk about the meat of seriously what happened, and then what you two do and did to really make this. I want to say you changed the whole outlook.
Yes, we did. We actually changed lives on this one. This is, in a nutshell, it's a case where a guy's coming home from the dentist, just got his teeth cleaned, and he's on his way home, turns off a major street onto his own street, and he gets hit by a car during that turn. Well, the driver of that vehicle died instantly on impact, but there was another car that was with him that just nearly missed him and went around the back of him. And at the end of the investigation, because the guy coming home just getting his teeth cleaned, it was determined he was over double the legal limit of alcohol. So he was impaired, he was drunk, and they arrested him for second-degree murder at that point.
So he was arrested.
He was arrested and booked into jail, yes.
Wow. Okay. So, okay, 2 guys are driving.
Yes.
Actually, 3 people
Three,
are driving.
correct.
The gentleman who did not get in the wreck, was he left and he was not cited, or did you did say he stayed around?
No, he was a key factor in our investigation
Okay,
because
okay.
he came back. He parked his car and he came back to everybody that was standing around. Now there's witnesses and bystanders standing around this kid that's still trapped in the car. And he's telling each and every person standing there that he was doing 47 miles an hour. He wanted to make a point that he was telling everybody he was doing 47 miles an hour.
47?
Yes,
Yeah.
specifically that number.
The kid was saying this?
Not the dead kid, but the one that was
The
alive.
one that was alive was
Yes,
saying this.
right.
So he was going to each person who's there looking.
He was telling the people
I was
47.
only
Yes, 47.
He knew that 47 was the key.
That, well, he just figured that's the speed he wanted to stick with, and he has an
Interesting.
analog speedometer, which is in 5-mile-an-hour increments, so it was kind of interesting.
That is interesting. And so you both discussed this together as a team, or how do you co-work together? Do you guys cohabitate? I don't know where you live.
Well,
I don't judge, Jeff.
There was some time in our past when
Yeah.
we needed the money.
We all, we all experiment.
When we get the cases, we review them and see if we can actually make a difference in the case. Win,
Right.
lose, draw. If somebody's doing something wrong and we see they're doing something wrong, then we just present the facts. So it is what it is. So we review the case and decide if it's something we can go after and try to help our client. And if we do, then we start investigating.
What I want to do is talk about the meat of it.
Yeah, it's gonna
I
get
think
good.
that's
Yeah.
what's going to get good.
gonna get really good.
So you guys just hang on, listeners. There is so much to this that you're not even going to like remember. We need to go to their houses and tell them. Like, just sneak in their windows. Oh, no. All right, we've got the gentleman here, Jeff and Mark. You want to discuss a little bit more. Now we're getting into the meat of what happened, and let's reflect or reflect. Let's review what happened.
Reflect,
Some
review.
R word, genuflect.
Let's go back in
I
time.
was raised Catholic. I've got a lot of guilt.
Yeah, okay, that's it.
Just to let you guys know.
Yeah.
I've done some weird stuff, which you guys have probably met people that have.
Oh,
done.
yeah.
And not as me, because it's been crazy. But tell us a little bit about what, like, now we're at the meat
Yes.
of this. The guy comes from the dentist.
Yes.
People they're speeding by. One gentleman hits the one gentleman, hits a pole, and literally, and I don't want to be funny with this, he passes away.
Yeah, he's dead.
And the other guy that was driving in another car came by just to say, hey, oh my gosh, I saw this and I was driving as well that road.
Yeah, and I was doing 47 miles an
47.
hour.
So he made it.
And the key part to this is he said he was next to the vehicle that hit our guy, the dead guy. And he was sticking to the 47 miles an hour. And the police get there and they do their investigation and they ask everybody, do you know how fast you were going? Did you see how fast do you think they were going? And everybody regurgitates the 47 miles an hour. So the police put that in their report.
Right.
So that's their investigation. Well, now our guy's going to prison for 20 years for second-degree murder. And, you know, does he deserve a DUI for being on the road impaired? Probably, but does he deserve to get hung out to dry on a homicide charge? That's where we come in. And so I start looking at it, and first thing I get is a photograph of the car literally wrapped around a telephone pole. So to wrap your car completely around, it takes some force. It went to the passenger side of the car and it was bananaed. I mean, pushed around. If you can take visually see this,
Right.
and that kind of force takes a lot of speed. Now he'd already hit the car, which killed him. So to come off the car with that much force and still wrap around the pole, that tells me there's even more speed involved. So I look at it, and the police put in their report, speed is not a factor in this case. And I call bullshit on that right away. It's like, this is ridiculous. So Mark and I start looking into it, and
I'm going to just, for once, and I want to remind everybody, you have how much, 15, 20 years of experience. So when you see a picture, both of you, you know, that's how experienced you are. And could you, like the miles per hour and all that stuff, so
I can
obviously, I
guesstimate.
didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're right.
That's
I can
amazing.
guesstimate, and I can look at a picture of a car in an accident and tell you about how fast they were going.
Okay.
Now it's not 100%. I wouldn't testify to it in court as because the picture told me so. I'm going to do some calculations to determine that.
But you guys have both driven down the road and seen a wreck, and the flow of traffic is going 45, 50 miles an hour, and the cars are damaged. So you can tell they were going pretty fast. This thing the pole is in the car.
Right.
Yeah,
So there's
it's
no
in the
way
car.
this guy is even close to speed.
From the passenger side door up to the driver's seat. That's how far the pole went in.
Wow.
And so yeah, and Mark is right. We've all seen accidents. But the thing with the accidents you see on a 40, 45 mile an hour road, when cars hit each other, by the time they hit each other, they're doing 20 to 30 miles an hour because there's a lot of braking involved prior to. So the damage you see to cars where people go, it looks like that guy was doing 60 miles an hour.
Right.
They're really not. They're only doing 20, 30 because cars are designed to crumple. And the damage looks worse than it
Absorbs
is.
that crash.
So, but what we do, and we're trained in this, and my training experience, I can look at that and determine, well, was it a 20, 30, or an 80 mile an hour impact? In this case, I looked at this and I said, this is 80 plus, easily. And so I started running my calculations, and when I got done with this, I keep coming up with calculations of over 100 miles an hour.
Wow.
And I keep going back to it because it seems really high, although the picture says so, but I second guess my own work. And then it comes down to, we get the black box, let's call it the black box. It's actually the AC and the airbag control module of the car. It tells me what was happening 5 seconds and all the way up to impact on any car with an airbag system. And so that told me that he was doing 106 miles an hour within 5 seconds before impact. So my calculations were on track. And then I go back and I re-interview Mr. 47. And Mr. 47 is sticking to his story.
So Mr. 47 says that himself was going 47 miles an hour.
And he was driving beside the other
So
car who was doing the
okay.
same speed.
All right. So he was covering for him, and I mean, it's just interesting. They're both going at the same
Well,
speed.
and when I get to the end of this, you'll
Yeah.
see why he's doing this. He's covered himself.
Okay.
Because
This is interesting.
Because ultimately there was a turn in charging after all this.
Okay.
So what it comes down to is, and why I re-interview him, he sticks to it, and then I finally get him to crack saying, I've got more information that this guy was doing 106 miles an hour. And if you were driving beside him, you weren't doing 47.
No, you're
Right.
way past
He'd
it.
have blown by you at Mach 1. You
Yeah.
wouldn't have seen it. And so I finally get the guy to crack. And he says, yeah, we turned off this road and we're beside each other and we decided to race. So they're racing each other. And he narrowly missed the car. I mean, he literally by inches slid around the back of the car into oncoming and back into traffic. So he narrowly missed a serious homicide himself.
Right.
Or
He was
of
clearly a
himself.
better driver.
Well, or the quicker reactor.
Yeah.
So we were one of the two. So yeah, that's what turned this case was getting that download of that ACM, which why the police didn't do it, I don't know, because that's pretty standard operating
Yeah.
procedure at this point. But yeah, no, he's go ahead.
I was gonna say, but the guy coming from the dentist was the one that turned in front of two cars
Yeah,
racing.
and they stuck to the prosecutor stuck to their guns. They said, doesn't matter, the law in Arizona says you can't turn left in front of a vehicle that's close enough to create an immediate hazard, is how the law reads.
Right.
So I do up my calculations and show that any one of us in this room would have still made that turn based on how far back these cars were when he started this turn. Because in your head, you're not thinking that car's coming 106 miles an hour.
Right. That'd be odd.
You
Yeah.
can't justify, I mean, you can't even fathom that. You've seen that before, but typically a car coming at you, it's really hard to determine how fast it's
Especially
going.
drunk.
Well, especially when you're drunk, yeah.
Yeah.
So we do these calculations and show that these cars were well beyond a football field away. They're 300, 400, 500 feet down the road as this is going on, and he starts his turn.
Well, think about this though. When you are driving, you're in a turn lane and you're going to cross 2 or 3 lanes of traffic coming at you. Your brain does a lot of calculations.
Mm-hmm.
How fast do I need to step on the pedal? Your blinker. How far do you got to pull into the intersection before you make the turn? Again, drunk, you make probably safer decisions in a weird way because you
Sometimes.
know you're drinking, right? So your brain does this calculation and says that car is a really long way away. I have plenty of time to make the turn. What you don't know is that car is doing double the speed.
It's closing
So
that
it's-
gap quick.
Yes,
Right.
closing twice as fast. And again, drunk.
Yep.
You can't comprehend that, so he just goes.
Right.
So now he's in the front of 2 cars that are racing at him at 107 miles an
Yeah.
hour, and the first car misses him, the second car didn't, and it punched him into the
pole.
The pole.
So he's up for homicide.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So
Okay.
so we sit down with the
Well, he,
prosecutor.
without being well, so if you took the drinking out of it,
Mhm.
he would still be. Is he
No.
still at fault with the drinking added to it? But yet he would still be at fault to some degree.
Yeah, to break it down, what happens in our state here, in Arizona, is that if you are not impaired by any means, but you commit a civil traffic violation and you cause the death or serious injury of somebody, you get charged with a misdemeanor crime. You could face up to 180 days in jail, some fines, and loss of your license for a short period of time. That's on the high end. Usually you'll get something like probation or something like that. That's on if you're not impaired. Now, if you add alcohol or drugs to the system where you're impaired, it automatically ups it to the felony. That's when we get up to the highest at this point would be second-degree homicide here.
So this gentleman is up for
Second-degree
He's
homicide.
going.
He's looking
done.
at 20 years.
He's done. He's gone. All right, and then that's the meat of it. Let's think about that. And then you did say that they were going to wrap it up,
Yeah.
and the wrap up might change a little
Yes.
bit of this dentist guy who you didn't tell us of the dentist's name, but that's totally fine.
We'll call him Joe.
We'll call him Joe,
Joe
the
the
dentist. We are back here with Mark Welsh.
Correct.
What's your nationality? You seem like a fine, strapping man.
Funny you should ask.
Scottish?
It's a little bit of Scottish, a little bit of Welsh, a little bit of Wales.
So Welsh
Oh, it's
is,
Welsh.
so it's literally
Yes.
So that's, yeah, I was
Your parents
So
didn't have an
language.
imagination when they came in?
Well, how would that be my parents? It would be my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather.
They're still parents.
Or maybe they just called them where
As
they're
you
from.
see,
Hey, Welsh!
these two get along. And you both live in the valley. Jeff McGrath, he used to be a fiddler.
McGrath.
I was a fiddler.
Did you say McGrath or is it
It's
McGrath?
McGrath.
With a TH or
yeah,
a
like
PH?
Jeremy. Like Jeremy.
Like
But
Jeremy
I don't have
McGrath?
his money, yeah. I
So,
ride like
Maybe
him.
like Scottish too.
I'm Irish, bitch.
well, we'll edit out the word bitch. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So now we're at the end. We call it the denouement. You guys familiar with the denouement?
No,
The
that's
denouement is French, and it means. Thank you, Welsh man. This is my show. Well, it's your show, but I was here. The point is it's the wrap up. So when you go see a movie, the denouement is when all the characters, like the ones fall in love, or Romeo and Juliet, which really was a sad story. Well, Shakespeare has some sad.
Yeah, they all kill themselves.
Like with what you, I'm not saying you guys are Shakespeare, but you're almost Shakespearean in what you do.
Very much so.
There's love, there's things, and then you guys come to something that really, and I'm not
He was well
a downer,
shot.
that really are terrible situations that happen.
Yeah, they really are.
And I'm being serious with that.
Yeah.
It's so you guys see,
There's
when we
two-
joke around and you guys joke, but
we joke because we,
You need
it's-
to,
we
right? I
have
mean,
to.
humor
It's
is
our
something
entire
that-
careers. I mean, you see some really
Yeah.
bad stuff, and
There's two serious things with this one. One is the guy died.
Right,
That's
right.
tragic, right?
thank you, yeah.
Two is a guy getting prosecuted for a crime he didn't commit.
Okay.
So why are we gonna trash this guy's life in something that happened that was tragic anyway? So we're taking two down when he didn't commit a crime.
Right.
So
well, he
that's,
did, but not what he was charged with.
right, so that's where.
Okay,
me and Jeff
before the
got
break,
in.
that's what we have discussed,
Yes.
is this speed thing is evidently a large factor.
It's a huge factor,
Huge factor.
because I was able to justify when I sat down with the prosecutor and went through everything. I showed them and I exposed the police investigation. Not knocking on the police, I love them. I think they do a great
You were
job.
one.
I was one, and I think they needed to do a better job in this one.
Right.
And the reason being is because you have people's lives in jeopardy here. One life's already been taken, tragically. He made his own choice by doing 106 miles an hour down a surface street. That's, I'm not making light of it, but he ultimately killed himself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, our dentist guy making the left, he had plenty of time, and any one of us at any given moment with that distance would probably have made that same turn. So when I sit down with the prosecutor and I explain all this to him, and I explain time and distance and how he's traveling, how many feet per second he's traveling, both of these cars, and that I got the other guy, Mr. 47, to admit that they decided to race, we ultimately got the second-degree homicide charges dropped.
Wow.
The prosecutor said, we will dismiss these charges. Now, whether they went back and charged him with DUI, I don't know that, because that was beyond my scope. But we got his homicide charge taken away. Then they turned around and they charged Mr. 47 for drag racing on our
Oh.
streets, which is a misdemeanor crime. They couldn't get him on a felony, but it's a loss of license for a year, and it's a wake-up call
Big lesson.
and a big lesson.
Yeah.
Why he chose to do this. Let's just say he was a 45-year-old man in his family's Acura, his family's car.
So these guys weren't, so the 21-year-old passed away.
Yes, he did.
A 45-year-old man was racing him.
Yes.
And again, age-wise or whatever.
Doesn't matter.
Irrelevant to some degree, but when I first we were talking about it,
Yeah.
I was thinking they were both friends or something.
Right.
I was thinking younger. I really,
Nope,
I was
they
associated.
didn't know each other.
Okay, because I don't know if you had said that the age of him, not that.
No, I didn't. until
Okay,
just
so
now.
he was prosecuted.
You
I
said a
don't say
flashback to when
prosecuted,
you
but
were
he
growing
was
up.
fined or.
He got the fine. I don't know if he got jail time for that. At that point, I was no longer on the case because my
Right.
job was done. But sometimes I try to follow up. I don't really get the answers. But in this case, I do know they did charge him. Whether they went through and got a successful conviction of drag racing, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think the charging was appropriate at the end of all this.
So you did your job.
I did.
Very well, like
I
you
did,
do.
like I do.
So, who hired you? Was it the court, the prosecutors, the defense team? So when people come and so that wraps it up of the case that happened.
Yes.
So let's go back a little bit. So when your job is to come in, the prosecutors, who hires you to do, just for the layman out there
Sure.
that don't know about exactly
Sure.
what you guys
Now,
do.
on the prosecutor side, they have the law enforcement. They have the detectives. They have what's called the vehicular crimes unit, which is what I was a detective of.
Right, okay.
Phoenix calls them the vehicular homicide unit. They're different names, but they're all accident reconstructions. They go out and do what I do, and that's what I did for many years until I retired. Now, on the private side, primarily who hires me are defense attorneys, where the attorney for the Mr. Dennis guy, he says, I need somebody to look at this because the attorneys know the legal and the law but they don't know the calculations and the mathematics that go into this and how to figure this out. So they have to come to an expert like me and
Physics.
Mark. It's all about physics.
Right.
It's Newton's laws. That's what 3 laws is all about.
Inertia. Is that the Apple guy?
That's
is the Apple guy.
The Apple guy.
Absolutely is.
Yeah, sure is.
So things in motion stay in motion.
That's one of them. Yeah, yeah. There's impulse, inertia,
Yeah.
and
There's
the last one.
I don't know.
Come on, I was leaning on you there.
There's 3
Yeah.
of them, but 2 isn't bad. 2 out of 3 ain't
Wait,
bad.
I work in it all the time, but I never have to recite it.
God, I miss Meatloaf. God rest his soul.
Yes.
Large man.
Yes.
Yeah, he's Roadhouse. Did you see that movie?
Yes. Love
Yeah.
that. One of my favorites.
They're
Very good.
remaking it.
Patrick Swayze. Are they?
Yes.
But
Can't
Meatloaf would
remake
be in
it.
that.
They are
You
making
can't
it.
remake it.
Right boot.
No, not without Patrick.
Well, guys, this is wonderful. I think this is our first show in what we call in the can. So next week we're going to do another show, and you're going to let us know exactly the subject matter. I don't know if you know these cases all come up, but I had a great time. I hope you two did.
We did.
Let's
Yeah.
take it away. Sheila, what are we going to do now?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to SkidMarks, recorded live at 3 Laws Recon Studios in Phoenix.
That's right. Live. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a great time. We will see you on the rebound on the other side. Have a good time. Hope you go see Fiddle Frank. He is the best.
Over 8,000.
Bam, bam, bam.